then you want to put some powdered sugar on top of your cake. Put a towel on top of your cake. Then use another sheet pan to help you flip it over. And then your cake should pop right out. Okay, it looks a little dark, but it doesn't look burnt, so we should still be in business. So let's go ahead and try and use it. So the next thing you want to do is take it off the sheet pan. Then you want to trim off the edges. Okay, you want to put powdered sugar on this as well. And then you want to go ahead and roll it up. Okay, once you roll it up, set it to the side, and we're going to go ahead and let it cool off all the way while we prepare the icing. Now, the reason we roll it up, now the original recipe doesn't say to roll it up, but when I did the pumpkin roll episode, I don't know if you remember, but I found that rolling up the cake helped, I don't know, it just seemed to help keep the cake flexible, and it helped get the shape that we want to look for in the end. So this cake was actually fairly tough. It seemed to hold up to this to a pretty tight roll. I was concerned at first because it didn't feel very flexible, very soft, but it's actually it's almost like tough, like rubber almost. So it might not have a good mouthfeel, but we're going to find out. We're going to go ahead and work with it and give it a try. So go ahead and roll up your next cake and then set them to the side, and we're going to go ahead and make the icing. Okay, so while our rolled up cakes cool down, we're going to go ahead and make our icing. Now I'm going to go ahead and deviate from the recipe, and I'm going to actually use one of the recipes from my class cookbook. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a strawberry French buttercream. It's pretty much staying true to the Rachel Ray recipe. From what I saw, it's basically a French buttercream. It's a little bit different. In the Rachel Ray recipe, they take 6 egg yolks and then they whip that up with some powdered sugar, and then they take some frozen strawberries and cook them down to make a strawberry reduction sauce, and then they puree that and put it into the egg yolks and kind of create a cooked egg buttercream. But what we're going to do is we're going to make the issue with using fresh strawberries and real strawberries is that strawberries don't always have a very consistent flavor, and you run the risk of having a very diluted flavor. Even though you reduce it and everything like that, it depends on the ripeness of the strawberries and how flavorful they are. So what I'm actually going to use is I'm going to use a strawberry natural oil flavoring that you can find in most cake and candy shops. I found mine at Fran's Cake and Candy, and that's going to be that's going to allow us to have a more consistent flavor. Now, of course, you don't have to use the strawberry oil. You can use vanilla extract or whatever flavoring you would like to use. So why don't we go ahead and weigh out our sugar. We need 1 pound in the pot. Okay, and to this we're going to add a little bit of cream of tartar, just a pinch, and then we're just going to add enough water to make the sugar wet. It shouldn't be any more than 8 ounces of water, but I'm not even going to measure it. I'm just going to put the water in, and then using my hand I'm going to go ahead and get all the sugar wet on the bottom. You don't want any dry chunks of sugar on the bottom because that's going to burn and turn to caramel. You also want to be careful not to get sugar along the sides of the pot. If you do, you're going to have to wash it down, or you can do this really easy trick where you just boil it with a lid on top, and what happens is the steam helps melt all that sugar down back into the sugar water. If you don't do either one of those things, what happens is those sugar crystals along the edges will crystallize your sugar. Even if you have cream of tartar in there, there's still a high probability that it'll do it. And you really don't want to have crystallized sugar because it's just very difficult to work with. So go ahead and bring that to the stove. And then to these egg yolks, we're going to add 4 ounces of sugar. Okay, go ahead and start mixing your egg yolks. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cook our sugar water mixture until it reaches 150 degrees, and then we're going to slowly drizzle that into our whipping egg yolks. Okay, so once your egg yolks have reached a more full stage, you can go ahead and add in your flavoring. So this is what I'm using. It's called Strawberry Naturals. It's from Loran Oils. I got it at Fran's Cake and Candy, and basically it's an oil flavoring that's made with strawberry and other natural flavors. So it says it doesn't have any added or artificial colors, and all flavoring ingredients were approved for use by the FDA. So granted, I would think that most flavorings would be approved by the FDA, but I'm getting the impression that they're only using natural flavorings, which is good. We don't have any artificial flavors in here. So we're going to go ahead and eyeball it. And I'm going to add about a teaspoon in there. We can add more after we have whipped everything up, and then we can add it to our finished buttercream. But for this, we're going to go ahead and add it now, so that way we don't have to add as much later on. So go ahead and continue to whip this on high. Okay, so our sugar mixture has reached 250 degrees. I think I said 150 earlier, but I meant 250, sorry. You can go a little bit higher to 255 if you want, but you really don't want to get too much higher than that because you want to start creating caramel. Now you can see I've already started adding some red food coloring to help make it pink now. But you don't have to add it now if you want to. You can add it later. And so once your sugar mixtures reach 250, go ahead and slowly start drizzling it into your buttercream, or your egg yolks. It's very similar to making Italian buttercream. Okay, we're going to go ahead and let this continue to whip until it's cool to touch. It's still really, really hot right now. So something odd happened that's never happened to me before when I was making buttercream. It kind of got all hard and pasty, and I'm not exactly sure what the cause is, but we're going to go ahead and try and work with it anyway, because I think it'll get softer when I add the butter. Usually it's very soft and very, I don't know, fluid, but this is weird. So we're going to go ahead and try and work with it and see if we can make it work. Never want to give up until the end. So we're going to go ahead and add our butter to our cooled egg yolk mixture. And I softened 5 sticks of butter at room temperature. That comes out to be 1 pound and, let's see, 1 pound and 4 ounces. Okay, so it looks like our buttercream came back together. We're in good shape. So go ahead and whip it until it reaches icing consistency. Then go ahead and taste it and see if it's where the flavor is where you want it to be. Yeah, it's got a good subtle buttercream or strawberry flavor. So we're good to go. I like the color, I like the flavor. So let's go ahead and take it off the mixer, and we'll go ahead and get our cake ready for icing. Okay, so the first thing you want to do with your cake is you want to cut it up into 4 even strips, after you unroll it, of course. And if you have the counter space, go ahead and do the other 4 strips but I don't. So what we're going to do is we're going to work basically half a cake at a time, or half a layer at a time, however you want to look at it. Okay, so also with the buttercream, after I took it out the mixer, I noticed that there were still kind of chunks of that paste that we started off with, because I guess I overwhipped it or something. I've never seen it before, but I had some of those chunks still on the icing, and I was like, that's not going to work very good for icing. It's going to have lumps, it's not going to pipe well, it's going to look bad. So what I did is I took a paddle, the paddle attachment, and I put it on the mixer, and I went ahead and just really whipped it on high speed for a while. Hey, about like 5 minutes, and it looks like most of the lumps are out, should be, and it's actually added volume and it's made it a little bit lighter and airier, so there's a lot of benefits to that. So taking your strips, go ahead and ice them. Ice them like you would a jelly roll. Okay, so taking your first strip, go ahead and roll it up like a jelly roll. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my turntable ready. Remember, use a damp paper towel to keep your cardboard from moving. I'm going to go ahead and use one of the larger cake cardboards I have. This is a 10-inch. So let's go ahead and put down a little bit of buttercream. We'll use that as glue. I'll put down our center right there. And then we're going to go ahead and keep building onto our jelly roll, making it bigger and bigger. Alright, and so let's go ahead and put on our next pieces. That one's a little tall, that's okay. And our last piece. Okay, what a fun little cake this is going to turn out to be. I'm really glad I decided to do it. Okay, so go ahead and clean off your table, make sure you get all the crumbs off your table, and we're going to go ahead and ice the outside. Okay, now for this cake, it's not so important that we really do a super job on the sides, because what's going to happen is we're going to put on little pirouette cookies or cigarette shaped cookies along the edge to help decorate it. So we can kind of be lax on how we decorate or how we ice the top of this cake and the sides of the cake. So for icing, start with the top. Make sure you put a lot on the top. And if you didn't measure your strips like I didn't, I'm not a very good measurer, so I don't really measure. Just take your time, spread it out, making sure to compensate for the areas that are higher.